Hello, I'm not your buddy guy here again, and just want to apologize for the hiatus of being away for a while there. Tried to stay away from politics, and I failed at it horribly, miserably. Didn't want to put out too much content. Didn't want to really entrench myself in it, but it's hard to not pay attention. Like I said in the previous video, it's really hard to just not pay attention and not just constantly go and say there's no way it can get worse. There's no way tomorrow can be worse. They can't top it, but they keep doing it. It just keeps getting worse. It keeps going insane. And now I'm doing a quick video here talking about woke culture and this whole what's going on with the left. I mean, they really have gone into sort of a collective insanity. And not just in the US, this is happening in Canada, this is happening in the UK, Australia, you name it, it's happening everywhere. The internet, as great as it is also spread some pretty crazy badass stuff with people across the world. And they are just collectively insane and seeing the world in a completely, unrealistic way. Like it's not even reality what they're looking at. It's not. They're canceling Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss, for crying out loud. The dude taught kids to not judge people based on appearances, to look at them as a individual. It taught a lot of really good lessons. So just to be canceling him is just like, well, what the hell? eBay coming out and censoring him, and a whole bunch of shops not wanting to sell his books. It's getting to insane levels where it's like we need to really pause as a culture, pause as a people, and speak out. I think far too many people just are afraid. They're either crazy or afraid. And those who are afraid, you really got to start saying something. You got to, because this is just going to destroy civilization as we know it. We really are. Now we're talking about wanting to throw pregnant women in the military to be in our front lines. That's pretty freaking insane. And now we're canceling Dr. Seuss. Now we're having completely crazy perspectives looked at the world. They literally see racism everywhere and everything. I remember back in the 90s when I was growing up, that wasn't even something you even thought of. Reflecting back, I didn't realize how many, diverse backgrounds my friends were. I didn't look at their skin color. I didn't care about their skin color. I looked at them as my friend. Like Mazdak or Elliot, Chris, Alan. It's insane that now we've come to a point where we are promoting racism. We are. And that's what I hate, is because it's only going to create more racists. This whole woke culture of just being, you can't be, against racism. You have to be anti-racist. You have to be vocal and fight racism. And you have to, speak out, and you have to fight the whiteness. Fight the whiteness. That is insane. What do you mean the whiteness? What do you mean you want to do all these things? What do you mean you can't just be against racism? You have to be vocally anti-racist. And you got to really look into the ideology of the whole anti-racism. You really do. They take it to a whole nother level. What amazes me is you got this book that comes out that's going to high schools, universities, everywhere, by Robin DiAngelo called White Fragility or something like that. And it's just like she admits she's a racist. And what amazes me is just how I'm dumbfounded, just completely dumbfounded, that the left, that they hate racism so much that the person they go to seek out advice is a racist. What are you thinking? Why would be going to a racist? Because let's look this up here. Robin DiAngelo. I don't even know if I'm spelling that right. It'll probably auto-correct me. Robin DiAngelo, racist. Well, my record button's right at my enter button. Let's rotate the screen here. Or search. There we go. Bring it back. Sorry for a minor technical difficulty there. It does talk down to black people, actually, you know. But right in the book, she even admits she's a racist. And it amazes me because what they're doing is they're actually going to be creating racism through, all this racial rhetoric. What do you think happens when you keep going to children or groups of people? Let's just focus on the white people. Let's focus on them right now. If you just keep going to them and saying, "Oh well, you are bad because of your skin color. You are bad because of your skin color." Don't you think eventually they're going to start grouping up and saying, they keep collectively hating us just for our skin color. We better start, banding together and defending ourselves based on our skin color and just look at our skin color and maybe just advocate for our skin color. Did you ever, that's one of the biggest issues I've had, not just with this woke culture, but this whole, just everything going on with the left. They look at the first step they take and they don't even look down the path. They don't. They don't look where their pathway is going and what'll happen. What are the consequences of their actions? They just don't look at it. I get it. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That statement is so clearly true and proven in these times. Because what's happening with the left right now is where there weren't white supremacists, where people didn't care about race and all that. Now they're going to start caring about it. Now they're going to start banding together based solely on race. Now they're just dividing people. Do you think that's going to be solving anything? You're going to have white kids that are going to grow up being white supremacists. You literally are. Because what are you doing? You're focusing them on their skin color and you're blaming them for it. This is how we got black supremacists. There are some actual hardcore black radicals that advocate for pretty horrible, horrible things to other races, specifically white people. They do. They exist 100%. And it was because of that racism back then. So why would people think that, oh yeah, well, we'll just fight racism with racism? Who would think that's a great idea? Who's the one that went in the brainstorm meeting and just said, you know what, I got a great idea. Let's fight racism with racism. It's dumb. Absolutely dumb. It doesn't fix anything. It just makes things worse. It just divides people even more. I am, again, like I said, I am dumbfounded by this, but the left, they just don't look at the consequences of their actions. Let's demonize this race and nothing will happen of it. Nothing will happen. They won't start getting together and start defending themselves based on their race. Because we're attacking them based on their race. This is how you destroy society from within. And I would not be surprised if a lot of funding and a lot of outside foreign sources, it's always, you got to follow the money, man. You really do. I would not be surprised if a lot of this is being poured into to bring about the downfall of Western civilization. I would not be surprised. I don't think it solely comes from foreign, absolutely, a lot of it's homegrown, but I would not be surprised if China is influencing this to make sure that we destroy ourselves. Because right now, like I said in my previous video with pregnant women in the military, the best thing they could hope for is that we destroy ourselves from within, that we weaken ourselves intentionally, that because literally, again, I'm a Canadian, but whether I like it or not, like I said in the other video, America is literally the only thing standing between Chinese global dominance and some form of liberty and freedom across the world, where countries are able to make their own decisions and not have to worry about some country running every aspect of their life. Because China, if you've ever been to China, my God, and what's happening in those Uyghur camps, I'll say that for another video, but it's insane. And those people do not have freedoms. They cannot speak out against their government. If they do, they will be whisked away with a black bag over their head and whisked away to somewhere else. They'll be fined. They'll be penalized, socially ostracized because they spoke out against their government. No, I believe in I'm very much in line with Tim Pool in this. I'm more right-leaning than he is, but I'm very much in line that you should be able to flick off your representative. You should be able to tell them off and tell them what you think. You should be able to say every horrible thing and every word in the dictionary to them, because you should be able to freely express yourself. You should be able to voice your opinion of what you think, what is wrong, what is concerning you. Because that's what's happening with this whole woke culture, is it's silencing what concerns everyone. It really bothers me when how the left comes out and they say, oh, you're racist because you don't want illegal, or they don't say, they just call them immigrants now, but illegal immigrants, in our country. No, the actual issue is that a lot of people now have to compete with people who are willing to work under the table and for lower wages now. That your own citizens that were struggling already as is, just barely getting min wage, which you've already effectively, to compete with someone that'll come in and say, I'll work for $5. I'll work for anything. I don't care. I'll work for $7, $2. How do you compete against that? Any business in its right mind, if the person's competent enough and they're willing to take that decreased pay, they'll be like, okay, fine, I'll take them. A lot of IT companies did the same. A lot of them wouldn't even hire, high school students because they'd be willing to take that decreased wage as opposed to some graduate who has their student loans to pay back. Because, again, at the end of the day, businesses are there in it to make a profit. They wouldn't be a business otherwise. They're in it to make money. So it amazes me because everything is just thrown, this whole woke culture, it's destroying our society. It's making issues in areas where that issue is non-existent. I can guarantee you the vast majority of people complaining about illegal immigration don't really care about the race of the illegal immigrants. I can guarantee you if it was even a white European or a white Canadian, they still would be bitching about it. They still would be complaining because it's hurting the job market. It's hurting the economy. It's not letting their own children work at McDonald's, their own children be able to work at any company, or even them themselves work at, have more job offers. Because quite literally, what causes a lot of issues, again, whether people like it or not, is to have opportunity. And those with the lack of opportunity, people become more disgruntled. They tend to go in directions that we don't want people to go in. They commit crimes. They do a lot of bad things because they need to get by. A human needs food. They need water. They need shelter. And as much as you want to provide and just give that out for free, there's always going to be a cost. It doesn't come out of nowhere. We don't have the technology of Star Trek. As much as many people on the left may think that, we can just poof, create water out of thin air. Or poof, create food out of thin air, or poof, create anything, energy out of thin air. It just doesn't happen. There's always a cost. Right now, at least. We don't have that technology, and hopefully we do one day. Hopefully we can do that one day. But right now, in reality, we don't. We don't have that. And right now, we're literally destroying our own society. We're creating racism where racism wasn't even a thought. Even when I go to this whole, even when they were attacking Trump and saying, oh, he's one of the most racist people, people need to actually look into his past, what he did for so many different black communities. One of the best things you should do is actually go to any one of his employees, not the people who, deservedly got fired, because, when you do some bad stuff and you get fired, generally speaking, you're probably going to have some bad words for that company. But again, it's biased. But I can guarantee you the vast majority of his employees, they'll say, yeah, Donald Trump was a great guy. I know people that worked for him and they loved him. Sometimes he would, I kid you not, sometimes he'd go around and he would just flash around $100 bills and just give it out to them. Just give them and be like, here, this is yours. Have a great day. You just give them. Tell me how many bosses go around doing that. Of course he's got the resources to do it, but even those who do have the resources to do it, how many of them do that? How many of them have so many employees that are willing to be loyal to such a crazy extent because he is such a great boss? You know, he is not perfect. And this is what always drives me mad with the media and their attacks on Donald Trump. It was just insane over and over. They just would lie. You know, even when you had that whole situation with him when he was visiting Shinzo Abe, I believe, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, I could be mispronouncing his name, or I might be getting the name wrong. But when he went there and he was feeding the koi fish in the koi pond there, and the media, they caught it and they showed him just dumping the box, the fish food. And they're like, he's trying to kill the fish. He's trying to, he's horrible. Oh, look at him being an idiot. We got him now. And then they purposefully lied on that and just excluded that Shinzo Abe then dumped his box. And so Trump followed suit. He did the same thing as the guest. He followed suit and dumped his box as well. It was a lie. Just like another lie that Joe Biden, the infamous lie that Joe Biden and a whole bunch of other left-wingers put out was how Trump said, there are good people on both sides. How the racists were also, he called racists and the fascists and the KKK and all them good. He legitimately came out before saying that and said, no, I'm not talking about, the KKK, the racists, I'm not talking about them. Those are terrible people. They're bad people. But there were some good people on both sides. And he was right. There were some good people that just simply want to stand up for those statues and recognize the importance of that history. To recognize that America is not founded to be perfect, but it has the ideals to always achieve it. And that it had struggles. It had challenging times like every other country on earth has had. Countries that have come and gone have had. They've always struggled and they've gone through bad times. They've gone through good times. And every single country that has existed and has ever existed has committed an atrocity in some form or another. Not one, even Canada, even here, everywhere. And we need to recognize that, but at the same time, we cannot live by that. And that's what the left is doing with this whole woke culture. They're making us live by it. To live with the mark, actually even a biblical reference, even though, I'm not really huge, I'd like to read, I need to finish it before I die one day. I need to actually read the whole Bible. But the mark of Cain, that you just have this mark where you are forever labeled by that. You are forever cursed by that. Because you're white, you somehow must have had slaves at one point. Black people were your slaves at one point. Me personally, I'm Ukrainian. My dad is Polish, passed away when I was 2 months old, and my mom when I was 11. But, my backgrounds of my family on both sides, they have lived under oppression. My grandma, she escaped the Nazis. She did. Her village, she's lucky she got out. But her village, it was a small village, not that big, but they were rounded up into a barn, and it was burned to the ground. She narrowly escaped that. Thank God she escaped that. But, my family has experienced a lot. Now, am I forever going to be holding that against the Germans? No. That was those people at that time. I'm going to hold those who did commit those acts responsible, absolutely 100%. But am I going to hold the younger generations at fault for something that their forefathers did? No. Because they are different people. They have learned. Hopefully they have learned. I would assume that they've learned. But they've learned from those mistakes, and they must carry that burden from that and realize, we'll never do that again. But the insanity of the left, it's going too far. Like I said, they're seeing racism everywhere. And it's the word racist, the word fascist, the word, all these different words, sexist, they are used so often and so much that the words themselves have been diluted. The vast majority of people just be like, okay, yeah, sure, okay, they are. They used to have meaning. They used to hold value because We don't like actual sexists. We don't like actual racists. We don't like actual fascists, communists. I don't like communists. If you're a communist, I don't like your ideology. I think your ideology will do significant harm to so many people, just like the fascists. I don't like your ideology. I think it will do a lot of harm to a lot of people. But this video is going on really long. Like I said, I got a lot of thoughts on this topic, and I really wish more people would stand up to this. More people would just say, enough is enough. We're not going to be throwing pregnant women into the military. Not everyone's a racist. Not everyone's a fascist. Your skin color doesn't define you. Like, it just amazes me. Martin Luther King even would say, he would be ashamed of what has happened to not just the black community, but what has happened to everyone. He'd be like, what the hell? This is not what I dreamed whatsoever. I wanted people to be looked at as an individual, not as not focused on their skin color, not focused on their genitalia. But no, the left are truly, and when I mean the left, I'm referring to the greater majority of the left. Not every single one believes this. Not every single one. I am sure a lot of them want to do good, but a lot of the good they're doing, and a lot of them also are doing this for greed. I can guarantee you there are far more grifters on the left than on the right. Doesn't mean I say the right is shouldn't have their own issues. Of course they do. Of course they got their own problems. But right now, the greater issue and greater threat right now to not just the US and not just Canada, but quite literally probably the world, is the collective insanity of the left right now. What they are doing can potentially not just destroy all these different nations I've listed, potentially destroy the actual freedom and liberties that we enjoy today. Destroy where you're freely able to choose. Do you want to have water, or do you want to have milk, or do you want to eat steak, or do you want to be a vegan? Do you want to ride a bike? Do you want to drive a car? Do you want to walk? Do you want to love someone of the same gender or love someone of the opposite gender? Do you want to be able to have what you prefer instead of have to adhere to what someone else wants for you? We should be able to live our lives for ourselves. Now, I'm not saying live it at the expense of others, well, I want to make sure my life is, filled with money and wealth, and I don't care how many people I hurt to attain that. Of course, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, where you don't have the harm, the zero harm principle, where you're not harming other people. But if you want to love a blonde woman who has, a beautiful body, and has a beautiful personality, a beautiful mind, you should have that right to. If you're a guy and you want to love a man, a fellow man that has a beautiful body, a beautiful mind, a beautiful spirit, you should be able to. You should be able to choose these things. You should have the freedom to have that option. Because the direction we're headed, we're actively having people shame straight people. Yet it amazes me. Like I saw, I'll wrap it up real quick here soon. But I saw on Twitter the other day how you had the super straight. That was a thing going on. Yeah, it sounds silly. Of course it does. But all these things should be silly. The alphabet crew needs to stop. This whole gay pride and all this other stuff, it needs to stop. In my opinion, gay pride is just as silly and ridiculous as straight pride. From how I grew up in the world my mom brought me up into, and how the environment I was around, that these were immutable characteristics. You're born with your skin color. You're born with your gender. And you're born with who you might be attracted to. It's innate in you. You might be attracted to brunettes. You might be attracted to Asian people. You might be attracted to black people. You might be, who knows? But you have your preferences. You just do. Everyone does. It's part about being human. We're born with these immutable characteristics. And since we're born with these things, they are uncontrollable. We shouldn't be promoting them. And just as well, we shouldn't be judging them either. We shouldn't be saying, oh, well, these white people, therefore, I know this about them. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing, we got to have our trans or gay or the LGBTQ plus parade and make sure we have all these different letters and whatever. Make sure the Apache helicopters are happy too. It's getting ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. We need to just stop it. Stop it with all this pride for these specific things. Because all that's happening right now is you're uplifting a group of people and saying they are better than you. We want them over you. We will have parades for them, but not you. And do you think that's creating a better world? I don't. I think it's creating a very divisive world. The mere fact that so many people were being like, oh, I hate these super straight people. How dare they be able to choose the opposite gender of theirs and say they're only solely attracted to the opposite gender of theirs. How dare they? You are being just as oppressive as the people in the past by saying, how dare they be attracted to the same gender? How dare they? You're no better. You're acting no better. You're just repeating the ills of the past. You're becoming the villain you claim to fight. Now, originally, when we had the gay pride parades, I was like, okay, we can have that. We can do the pride for when it first was coming around and we wanted to get people. But now we're at a time where it is promoted over others. It's done. Most people just don't care anymore. But we're getting to a point where it's being pushed and shoved in people's faces, where it's being forced, where you're no longer allowed to have your preferences. You're no longer allowed to be like, well, I'm a guy and I'm attracted to women and women only. Be like, oh, well, how dare you not date a trans person? You're transphobic. And it's like, well, what if I want to have babies with that person? What if I wanted to be my own genetic offspring with that person? How can I do that with another dude? I'm sorry, it's impossible. Men cannot get pregnant. I don't care what you say. They cannot. Unless we genetically create another species that can do that, then sure, okay. But right now, as it exists, there's only a male and a female. It's just the simple fact of life. The human species, there is a male and there is a female. I have nothing against trans people. And if people are attracted to them, absolutely, you live your life if you have your preference of that, that is your preference, just like my preference. If I have a preference as a straight male, I should be able to have a preference of a straight female. Otherwise, you're just suppressing people. And we're back to square one. And that's not the world I want to grow up in, to live out in, or even have my children grow up in and live out in. We're going back in time. And this is why this woke culture, all this, I don't care if Obama's talking about it. Dude was an idiot, and dude lied a lot. He said he was going to, bring about peace. He bombed Americans. Bombed them. Killed them. Children. American children, should I add. In the Middle East, of course, but still, children, he bombed them. And several innocents. Dude was horrible. Destroyed the economy. Said, what Donald Trump did it could not be possible without a magical wand. And he did. He brought manufacturing back. He brought a lot of jobs back. He bolstered the economy. He did things that many people said were impossible. Well, he did it. They weren't impossible after all. So Obama's not some godsend. He's not some great angelic person. He's not. But this video has actually gone super long. I apologize for it. Hopefully you don't mind hearing my thoughts. on the subject. It was a bit all over the place there, but essentially just going to woke culture and just focusing on this social justice and everything. It really is destroying society, and we need to recognize it, and we need to stop it. We really do, because there won't be freedoms anymore with this kind of ideology, and it will intentionally destroy our military, destroy our society. And I'll leave it on this one last note. I'll flash a picture of it too as well. But you know, there's this one image, and it's of a street, and every business is boarded up, closed, destroyed. But the sidewalk was, or the crosswalk was freshly painted with the rainbow colors. And this is the left of today. They're like, this is the society we want, where everyone's jobless, where you have no income, you have no future, you have no opportunity. But hey, you got a rainbow colored crosswalk. Think about it. That's the future you're creating for your children. That's the future you're creating for other children. That's the future you're creating for yourself. Stop it. Alrighty, well, that was a long enough video. We're at 31 minutes. Holy Jesus. And 20 seconds. So you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. And if you like my thoughts, definitely, say what you want in the comments section. Either you approve or disapprove, or if you want to pick at my brain at certain aspects, because, I'm always open to being criticized. Absolutely. Just tell me. Don't just throw simple statements like racist, fascist, sexist. I don't want to hear that stuff. That's not an argument. That means nothing to me. If you just say that, I will ignore your comment, and it won't impact me whatsoever. Honestly, I could care less, because like I said, it's already been diluted. But if you do have a point to make, an actual point, say it. Say it. Use your mind. Critically think. So hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and share this video if you can. Would love for people to, to not only hear my thoughts, but mainly to just start realizing they're not alone. For those of you who are silent, who don't want to speak up at work, who don't want to speak out in the government, military, private sector, it doesn't matter where. If you work at Google, I don't care. You should be able to know that you're not alone. But more importantly, you can't stay quiet. You can't just let these things keep going on. It will only make things worse for everyone. So, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video. And you folks have yourselves a wonderful day. Cheers.